The first two segments, we were Sawyer Robertson, Baylor quarterback, and Lieutenant General and College Football Playoff Executive Director Rich Clark joins us on 365 Sports. General, thank you for your time. Appreciate your time. What's your favorite memory when you were in New Orleans over the years?
Oh man, my favorite memory. Well, my wife and I came here on one of our first vacations when we were married, and it was spectacular. It was my first time in New Orleans, so of course I love that. But then this year I went to the Sugar Bowl, and it was fantastic, even with all of the tragedy around.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way that the city of New Orleans really rebounded and stepped up, and we were able to play the game, but still respect the dignity of those victims and their families. So it was kind of a bittersweet memory, I would say. But I was really proud of how that city responded.
You know, we've been here a bunch for events, and I love to take any kind of history tour I can take. And this is really one of the most resilient cities in the entire world. I mean, if you name something that could happen to this city, it's happened to it, and they constantly bounce back.
Yes, and they did big time. The city officials, the Sugar Bowl team, everybody wanted to make sure that we could secure the stadium, that we respected everybody that was involved in that tragedy. But then they said, you know what, though? Let's bounce back. Let's make this game happen. And they did it in great fashion.
You took over. We spoke with you back in Vegas, Big 12 Media Days. You took over the college football playoff. They expanded to 12. It was a huge jump from where they were. And, of course, not everybody's always happy. Some teams get frustrated, fan bases, whatever. But you jumped in it, and you really didn't have much connection. You obviously with the Air Force, et cetera. But what was your experience, if you could summarize it, and did it go better than you thought or about what you thought?
It went better than I thought. I knew that it was going to be good. Just the format that the commissioners laid out for us was really a good recipe for success, I felt like, but it just went so much better. And I don't just mean the playoff, but even the regular season. I feel like the playoff added to the regular season to make that more exciting. And then the playoff were just great. And yeah, some people complained because we had some blowouts. That happens. But the games, I went to 8 of the games, and they were electric. And I thought, it was just amazing. The ratings were good. The teams just performed well, and I felt like we actually crowned the true champion. Ohio State was they earned it. You know, they really did. So it went better, and I think the best thing for me was my team here at CFP. You know, I was a new guy walking in going, okay, where's the bathroom? You know, and they were just so good and taught me and helped me to get my feet up under me so that I could actually help with the process. I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to go through this journey with.
Yeah, what you just mentioned about them, you know, earning it, the truth, like, there's so many years in college football you can say, yeah, but that was the only good game that they won, was the one right at the end. And, like, there's so many things with the teams that they beat, and this will be the same way going forward. If you get in that playoff and you win it, no matter what your schedule was before, it doesn't even really matter because you will have earned it no matter what, right? There, you can't say like, oh, well, so-and-so was down. No, you beat 4 top 12 teams on your way there, so there you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at Ohio State, and they had that loss to Michigan that was, you know, probably as big a blow as a team could take going into the playoffs. So they showed that they were fallible, right? But then they went into the playoff and just showed the world what they were made of. And you know, I was proud of that. And frankly, Notre Dame did the same thing. You know, they came off that Northern Illinois loss early in the season, and they fought back and came into the playoff and just really earned their position there. And in the end, we crowned a true champion.
Rich, what is the actual criteria of strength of schedule, of all of the things that are mixed in together? You know that if you're a fan that your team is left out, and, of course, we had the big controversy a year ago with just 4. But what is really, in your opinion, the number one thing that your committee wants to see when they pick their 12?
Oh, That's a hard question. The number one thing, it depends, right? Okay, there's that answer. But it does, and it depends on a lot of different things that go in, a lot of pieces of the recipe that builds those 12 teams that are going in. And obviously, wins and losses matter, right? Strength of schedule matters. Head-to-head competition matters. The eye test matters. It all is important, and that's why the committee's job is so tough because they have to take all of those ingredients and come up with an answer that some people are going to agree with and some aren't. But having sat through the process now, actually, this is my second year sitting through it. I think they do a fantastic job because they really get down to it. They are very open and honest in that room and what they talk about. And there's some pretty specific protocols that are laid out for them that they have to follow. But in the end, a lot of it is just it's up to their judgment, the discussions that they have, and really listening to each other to come up with the right answer. And it is rigorous. I mean, they vote and they revote and they revote the revote. They make sure that everybody has a chance to make that input, and in the end, they vote on the teams that are going to get in. And I think they did a great job this year.
One of the things about strength of schedule that's an ongoing debate between the conferences is how many conference games that everybody has. Would you like to see a future where, whether it's 8 or 9, everybody agrees on that, and then that makes it a lot easier for everybody to determine what their schedule is? They're all kind of dealing with, 3 or 4 non-conference games, whatever it turns out to be, and not, kind of different standards for different conferences, so you kind of have the math that doesn't equal out.
Revive Superfood Smoothies. Peel, blend, and enjoy. Fast and easy, and I'm out the door.
Well, that's really up to the conferences. I don't want to really weigh in on that. What I will say though is that the committee is used to dealing with that. They know that they're not dealing with apples and apples. It's apples and oranges in a lot of situations, but that's why they're there. They're there to sort through some of those differences, to sort through what the different conference makeups are, right? And the teams that a particular team will play outside of the conference. That's what they have to do. And that's why they have so many different metrics. They have the eye test. They do all of these other things that allow them to cross conferences and to make an assessment of a team regardless of who they're playing. So I don't know that it's the conference's job to make it easier for the committee. I think it's the team's job to go out and win the games that they play and to play as well as they can every week, and then let the committee assess them regardless of who they're playing. There are a bunch of people that have huge experience in college football and even in football writ large. I mean, we have former NFL players, we got Hall of Famers, former coaches, journalists, everybody that has a touch point in college football. We have them represented on this committee. And I think they do a good job, and they will do a good job regardless of whether there's a standardization in the number of teams that you play within a conference. They're going to be able to do it, and they're going to do a great job for us every year, I think.
That there was a time, Rich, and you weren't a part of it, that Mr. Clark, that college football kind of started giving away weekends in December. You know that, and you've talked about that with the commissioner. And the NFL said, oh, this land is open? Good. It's like a game of Monopoly at times. Is that the 800-pound gorilla? And do you think the NFL will ever want to give back any of their turf to help college football, which is the sport that feeds their game?
Well, I'll say this. The NFL has been willing to work with us. And so we're going to work with their schedule or work with the NFL team to find the win-win solution as best we can, because there's a lot of games that both the NFL and now the CFP later in the season, but really college football, that we want to play and that we want to offer to the fans. We just have to figure out the best way to present it. And I do know that the NFL recognizes us as sort of the feeder system into their program, but they also like college football. So I think that we're going to have some opportunities to work with the NFL in this off season to figure out how we can best present these games to the fans and let them be able to make good choices as to what they're going to watch and what they're going to be fans of. So I do think it's a tough problem because there's so much out there that people want to see, and there is limited time. Time is the commodity here. We just have to figure out how best to divide it up between us.
I don't want to speak ill of the Bulls. They've done such a good job over the years of highlighting college football. But this is just as a longtime fan and passionate observer of this sport that is my favorite. If you could bottle up home playoff game and sell it in the grocery store, I would drink it every morning. Like, that's how awesome that was. And you were at some of those. Is that maybe going to be the next talking point of whatever modifications are made about doing more of that? Because I really feel that went over.
So those home games were spectacular, and I went to two. I went to Notre Dame, and I went to Ohio State. I don't know, maybe I just did. Those happen to be the two that I went to. But they were spectacular, and I couldn't be more proud the way that those schools presented the game. They worked with our team to help give it the gravitas, right, of a first round. Now, the Bulls also, I think, put on a spectacular event for the quarterfinals and the semifinals. It was just amazing. And there's, a lot of people say, well, maybe we could do more on campuses. I will tell you this, as you get later into the season, just from a practical logistic standpoint, when you get later into the season, especially on New Year's and New Year's Eve, the campuses change. They're not the same that they were on December 20th. Students are gone. A lot of people are taking vacation. You're over a holiday. The logistics become a little bit different. And I know that the Bulls know how to do that over the holiday, over January 1st, over New Year's Eve. So I personally like the idea of presenting that first round on campus and then having the quarters and semifinals on at the bowl games. It keeps that tradition of the bowls and the event and just the spectacular nature that they put a game on. It keeps that in college football, but it also honors those campus games because, like you said, they were amazing, electric, I would say. I personally like this, but the commissioners, they obviously have opinions and will take a look at this. But yet to be seen if any changes happen there. But I think I personally, this is just Rich Clark speaking, I think we found a pretty good recipe as far as where the games are played from first round, quarters, and semis.
What is the timeline or date in which you have to have everything ready for what the structure and how it will be run for 26 and beyond?
By December of 25. So we have some months before we have to have everything sort of nailed down as to how we're going to proceed for 26 and beyond.
Should one voice or one commissioner or one conference have more clout or leverage than everybody else involved in college football?
Well, we have a voting structure within the committee. It's a very fair structure, and everybody has a voice. I don't think one commissioner should have the deciding factor, but there's always a discussion. They always talk everything out in the committee room for the management committee, which is made up of all the commissioners plus the Notre Dame athletic director. They talk it out and then they vote. So I think voices are heard, votes occur, and then we move forward with that. So I like the process we have, and it's so far working for us. I mean, we got to this 12-team playoff, and it was great this year, and we're only going to make it better in the future.
we had Mac Rhodes, and I appreciate your time. We do, General Clark, we really do. Mac Rhodes was on with us last week, and he was on the committee. I had asked him about transparency. You have one voice. Ward Manuel was that voice, one spokesperson, so to speak. Is there anything that you noticed or you have an idea of how to become more transparent with the process other than the Tuesday night show?
Well, I think that's probably the best way for transparency. We need the chairman to be able to speak on behalf of the entire committee. That adds some credibility, not just transparency, but credibility, because the chairman is the one that runs the discussion. My job is really to make sure that we're following the protocol and that we're voting in accordance with the rules that the commissioners have laid out. But the chairman leads the discussion. The chairman is a voting member, and I think hearing from the chairman is really key. I personally encourage transparency, and I think Ward was pretty transparent. I thought he did an amazing job this year. You don't ever want to dime out people on the committee for how they voted or for specific discussions that happened, but sharing a sort of sense of the committee, I think, is really important. And I felt like Ward did that this year. So, and every chairman has their own personality and their own leadership style that they bring to the table. So we'll see how it goes next year. But personally, I thought Ward was outstanding.
Do you anticipate any changes this year, or will this be the second part of seeing, is that way you get a whole idea of this happened one year, this happened the next year, because the discussion was about reseeding or changing the seeding, but as you know, sports are not the same every time. Next year it could not be a problem, and you could have it perfectly nailed down. So is any of that going to happen, or will we stay the way we are this year, the same, and then 26 we'll see what changes happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that the commissioners do want to be patient, and they want to be measured in their changes if there are any changes. I do think that they would be open to some tweaks to the format. I'm not sure if it'll happen. I doubt if they're going to make like big major changes for this coming season, but I could imagine them making a few tweaks here and there just to help fine tune what we already have, and then letting us run the playoff one more time to make sure that if there's any big changes, because the one thing you don't want to do is make a big change and then go, oops, that didn't work out so well. So you give yourself a little time to see it in action again, and then make the big major changes that you think need to happen.
Yeah, let it breathe. Let it breathe, right, Rich? Just
Sure.
let it breathe and like see the cake bake all the way to the end.
Right. I think that's what they're going to do.
Thank you very much for your time, Lieutenant General Rich Clark, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff. We do appreciate you very much.
Always great to talk to you guys. Thank David, Paul.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.